Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. This is Omar Khalid. But without further ado, this is what we are going to discuss during the course of today's show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the Trump and Netanyahu statements that have made a lot of question marks as far as the future of this whole Middle East peace process between Israel and Hamas is concerned. Also, it raises a lot of questions as to what the US and Israeli governments exactly want as far as the Palestinians, the Gaza, this truce and so much more is concerned. We'll try to highlight many aspects around that in our first segment. Then we are going to talk about the 41st martyrdom anniversary of Muhammad Maqbool Bhatt that is being observed in Pakistan, in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and in Azad Jammu and Kashmir as well. India secretly hanged and buried him in New Delhi's Tihar jail on this very day in 1984 and have still yet to give his remains to his family. Finally, we're going to talk about the International Day of Women and Girls in Science that is being also observed today across the world, including in Pakistan. This year's theme is Charting Progress to Shape the World. The best is yet to come. Inshallah, let's hope the best is indeed yet to come. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the whole Middle East process that seems to be in shambles with all the statements that have been coming from Donald Trump and Netanyahu. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Online, we've got Dr. Maleeha Lodhi. She's a former ambassador to the United Nations, the United Kingdom and the United States. And in the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha Bhatti, who's a foreign affairs analyst. We'll begin with Dr. Maleeha Lodhi. Dr. Sahiba, thank you very much to have joined us. When you look at the recent statements by Donald Trump regarding Gaza, first of all saying that the Gaza hostages, if they aren't returned by 12 p.m. on Saturday, cancel the ceasefire, all hell is going to break loose. What does that indicate as far as this whole peace process that is undergoing between the Israel and Hamas side is concerned? Does that mean an end to this deal, or is there more to it?
Well, clearly, this is a moment of great peril for a very fragile ceasefire. As you know, this ceasefire is about 3 weeks old. In fact, the whole agreement between Hamas and Israel involved 3 phases, and this is only the first phase, and it's at a halfway point. So the latest statements from President Trump are obviously very alarming, and he is now further emboldening the Israelis. Of course, he himself is the most pro-Israel president in American history. That's a fact. And all his statements have just reinforced that and confirmed that. But for him to say that Israel should cancel the ceasefire if all hostages are not released by Saturday, again, it's a sort of classic quintessential Trump threatening Hamas, holding out this intimidatory sort of posture. And Hamas has, of course, paused on the release of hostages, saying that Israel has violated the ceasefire. And there is plenty of evidence to indicate that. So I think we are on the brink of the ceasefire possibly collapsing. And Trump, who actually took credit for the ceasefire 3 weeks ago, now is suggesting the opposite. But that's Trump for you. One day he says one thing, and a few days later, he makes a complete U-turn and a swift change of course. So this is a very, very dangerous moment for the Middle East again.
On that, but Dr. Sahiba, Donald Trump in the past as well had said the same thing, that he said, and I quote, "I have no guarantees that the peace is going to hold." Was he already sure about the future of the peace process even a couple of days back?
Well, it doesn't seem that he was very committed to it, because if you make statements like that at a very delicate and sensitive moment, then it just shows that you are really supporting Israel in carrying out a bloodbath in Gaza. And Israel is continuing to do that. Plus, Omar, as you know, Israel has also been escalating its military assault in the West Bank. And I think that's an area we need to watch as well, because there again, Israel may be on the brink of annexing at least part of the West Bank, for which they may just get Trump support. Trump has said in one of his statements that the issue of sovereignty, as he put it, of the West Bank, he will take a decision on in the next few days or weeks. So again, we're looking at a complete, there is no such thing as a two-state solution anymore because the United States under Trump is not at all committed to it. In fact, it's saying quite the opposite. For him to have made the outrageous statements that he's made on Gaza, that the US will take control of Gaza, as if this is an age of imperialism, and that all Palestinians have to leave their own homeland. How outrageous can you get? This is an outlandish statement which has been condemned worldwide. Only Israel has supported it. Even America's closest allies have rejected his so-called plan for Gaza, which is a plan of ethnic cleansing. So again, this is a very, very dire situation. It is a very, very challenging time for the people of Gaza who've already suffered so much. And I understand that the latest casualty figure is now exceeded 48,000 people, mostly women and children, who have been killed in this war that Israel has imposed on Gaza.
Unfortunate, but that is these are what the figures are. But in fact, the ministry in Gaza says that they have even exceeded 61,000 because there are tens of thousands that are buried under rubble and now considered to be dead. Kindly stay online with us, Dr. Sahiba. We also have been joined by Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha Bhatti in the studio. Dr. Sahiba, let's talk about outlandish statements and close allies of the US. And I'm referring to Netanyahu, who on Thursday suggested that Palestinians should establish their state in Saudi Arabia rather than in their own homeland. I'd like to quote exactly what he says. The Saudis can create a Palestinian state in Saudi Arabia. They have a lot of land over there. There was a very strong reaction from the Arab world, from the official Saudi media, from different other medias, from the Arab world as well. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Omar. Well, yes, you are absolutely correct that, and before that, I would like to quote that Mr. Trump already have ordered that to the Jordan and to Egypt to take all those refugees, and they should resettle them over there in their countries, and they should leave that Gaza and West Bank, and so it's a kind of ethnic cleansing. And if you remember, then in Nakba they have done that as well. 7 million people at that time, they were forced to leave their places, their homes at that time even, and now they are trying to do that same again. And as far as we look in the parallel, there is a ceasefire going on, and the second step of the stage of the ceasefire was expected to start from now, but they didn't talk about it when they met in the Washington. Both of the presidents, they never talked about it. I'm talking about the Israel and the American president, and yet there is another statement came out from the Trump that he is saying that the Gaza should be cleansed from the Palestinian. They should move somewhere else. They should resettle somewhere else, and let's reconstruct the Gaza. So this is something else he came up with, and it's really surprising to give such a kind of statements that are really unpractical. And on the other hand, the Netanyahu is asking, giving a suggestion that they should get settled over there in Saudi. So here are three different stands there that we should look the matter into. One is the legality of this kind of statements, that either it is possible under the international law that all those residents of the Gaza and the West Bank, they should go and settle themselves somewhere else. So no, this is not. There are certain Geneva Convention provisions on it, and there is 194 UN resolution on it, and they are saying that specifically the Palestinians, they are not forced to leave their homes, their homeland. So they are.
Dr. Sahiba, we will continue our conversation, but we have to go to a short break. Welcome back, and we're discussing the statements by Donald Trump and Netanyahu. Dr. Maleeha, Lodhi, coming to you. Donald Trump says Palestinians would have no right to return to Gaza under his takeover plan. Yes, he says he has a takeover plan for Gaza, and he wants to convert it into the Riviera of the Middle East. What's your take on this statement?
Well, it's a piece of nonsense, obviously. It's complete rubbish. For the President of the United States to make this statement, as I said before, it's completely outrageous and has been rejected by almost the entire world. We've seen condemnation from countries in the global south and from America's close allies like France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. I think an important development will be the outcome of King Abdullah of Jordan's visit. He is due to meet President Trump at the White House later today. And clearly, Trump will put as much pressure as he can on Jordan, which has already rejected his plan to take in Palestinian refugees into their country, as has Egypt. In fact, Egypt has called for an emergency meeting of the Arab League. So let's see what the outcome is of his King Abdullah's talks with Trump, because I think Trump has been threatening cutting off economic assistance to Egypt and Jordan if they do not fall in line. But I find it very hard to believe how they can fall in line with this totally impractical plan, which is unworkable. I think they will not want to take the wrath of their own people. The people in the Muslim world are obviously angered by what Trump has said and continues to say. He's doubled down on his statements. I mean, treating the homeland of a people who've been dispossessed and who have faced such cruelty for decades, to sort of trivialize that and say this is just some real estate deal, I think is really, really, one can just keep condemning it and denouncing it.
Also, you talked about Jordan, his meeting that is to be held later in the day with the King of Jordan. And you also said that, they have said that they are going to withhold aid if Jordan or Egypt do not comply with it. But what I also want to add to it is another statement that he made. He suggested that US aid could be used to negotiate a deal. Could a deal be negotiated just on the basis of the aid that the US is giving to Jordan and to Egypt? Do you feel there is a middle way somewhere, or do you feel Jordan and Egypt will stand firmly on as far as this whole outrageous demand by Donald Trump is concerned?
Well, I think we have to wait and see how that plays out. But I don't see how either Egypt or Jordan can agree to this, regardless of how much money is put on the table. As I said before, they cannot take on the wrath of their people who will find this totally unacceptable. It will be a betrayal of the Palestinian cause. You've seen how the Saudis have reacted to this. They've also issued a very strong statement and denunciation of what Trump has said about moving Palestinians out of their own homeland. So I think, we will have to wait and see how a joint stand is taken by Arab countries at the Arab League summit, which is probably going to take place in a few days' time. But for now, I don't think any Arab country, any Muslim country can be complicit in a betrayal of the Palestinian people.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maleeha Lodhi, to have joined us and to have given us your valuable input as far as these recent statements are concerned. Coming to you, Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha Bhatti. On Sunday, Trump tells reporters on Air Force One that he is committed, this is what I talked to Dr. Maleeha, to buying and owning the Gaza Strip. Sunday, which is just, 2 days back. And relocating Palestinians who are living there. He says, and I quote, "I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as US rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East." That is something that he has added from the last time. To build sections of it. He said it's a big mistake to allow the Palestinians to go back another time. That was if they were to return to their lands. What happens if this relocation happens, and if this relocation is not temporary but permanent?
Well, Omar, you know what, this idea of reconstruction of Gaza as a real state has actually coming from the Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. Yeah, he basically suggested this in last year in Oxford meeting, and the same thing is coming out from the Trump's address as well. But we have to look into the legality of the issue again. I'll say that because there are certain international provisions under Geneva Convention and under United Nations Security Council that prohibit this. And then there is the morality of this statement, that morally is it right to ask those deprived and distorted and destructed Gaza people to move somewhere else. So this is something I don't think that they are ready to do that, because right now 3 years back, once they 3 months back when they the ceasefire started going on, so they were almost 500,000 people, they returned to Gaza because they were feeling okay, Trump is coming, so there would be peace. So they are not going to leave their homeland. Nobody does that. So the morality is there, morally this is not right, and then there is practicality, that how is it possible that how he is going to bring all the regional players on the table and ask them to have their consensus on this reconstruction of Gaza on his terms. So this is really difficult.
And US owning Gaza.
Yes,
this is another thing. It's
so
not just reconstruction.
Here is something related to the Egypt. They are not going to do that because they have already signed a peace deal in 1971 with Israel, so that peace deal is going to be violated, and then we have got a strong reaction from KSA as well, and then from the Turkey as well, and nobody is ready to do that. So it's about who is going to stand with Trump on this idea. So I don't think that practically this is possible.
All right. Also, the Egyptian foreign minister, Mr. Abdullati, met with his US counterpart Marco Rubio, and he also met with the US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff in separate meetings. And in both the meetings, he has very clearly told about Egypt's point of view as far as Palestine and the future of Palestine is concerned. Does this matter in the long run of what Egypt or Jordan think, or is the US going to impose whatever it wants, whenever it wants?
Well, Omar, if you look into the executive orders Mr. Trump is approving, one is that he has banned that stop the funding of USAID, but not for the Egypt and for the Israel. So, and the similar thing has happened with the WHO as well. So it means that if they are releasing the funding for the Egypt, so definitely there are no free lunches. They are going to ask them for that settlement of the Palestinian in Egypt. So it's going to be a very tough decision that has to take to the government of this Egypt, because if they are getting the funding from the Trump, in that scenario, when the whole world is, they are actually crying that USAID has the 40 million of the annual funding has been stopped for the whole world. So that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. And yes, the international community's consensus is really important for the Trump, because in the midterm election, and yes, the opinion of his people matters a lot. The American peoples, they have got the sentiments toward the people of the Palestinians, because they have seen so many things on the social media coming out. So they have got their sentiments towards them, and the Muslim community in the swing states in America. So they basically voted Trump on this condition that he is going to bring the peace. But it seems that he is not a peacemaker; he is a deal maker.
Well, that we'll see what kind of deals are made in the coming days. We unfortunately will be ending our show right here. We'll be back tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay tuned. Allah Hafiz.